In this quick video segment, we're going to deal with importing static devices. There may be times on VLANs where we've got, let's say, 100, 150, 200 static devices. Instead of importing them one at a time, we want to import them en masse. So we'll walk through that process. First thing we want to do is scroll down to our VLAN in question, and we want to click on the gear icon and this endpoints discovery. We'll actually want to click on it, and what will happen is the discovery process, you'll see last completed, in progress. So what happens here is we're using the broadcast or ARP process to discover all static devices on the VLAN. Now, once that process is complete, we can very simply go to Export Endpoints CSV, and when we export that, we can then open that up in Excel, and there's a couple things you'll notice here. The first field is discovered. These are all the discovered items, right, from that ARP process. So what we're going to want to do is find and replace all discovered to static. And we're going to want to choose replace all. So now all our discovered devices have been made static. Now, pointing out one thing here, in this VLAN, which is common, is you'll see DHCP relay, and we've got several devices that are set to that. However, it's non-air gapped. On the VLAN, we have our policy for DHCP server. You can set it to on or off or non-air gapped, and this is on the VLAN. So if you edit the properties of the VLAN that's created. Now, in our case, even though we're using the DHCP server to obtain an IP address, we don't want to air gap right now, which means there's /24. This is important in that in normal VLAN, this would be air gapped, right? In our scenario here, what I want to do is find en masse everything that's air gapped and make it non-air gapped, right? The reason why I'm pointing that out is if this were air gapped, now you're going to be changing a legitimate air gap device to non-air gapped, right? So the process here is once we change it from discover to static, we're going to change it from air gap to non-air gap. That tells the system that it's a /24, so we understand that the packets are flowing appropriately and it's not a modified device or a compromised device. And then that gives us time to, one at a time, change them to a /32, and then we simply go into the UI and change them from non-air gapped to air gapped. So with that explanation, what we're going to want to do is the same process is find and replace. However, ensure that your find entire cells only is checked. So by default, when you're looking at your find and replace field, this is what it looks like by default. You have to click on options and then click on find entire cells. Otherwise, what happens is if you don't say find entire cells only, it'll take non-air gapped and it makes it non-air gapped. So at this point, we'll say replace all, right? And so now we have everything non-air gapped. We can save this. And then what we're going to do is go back into the VLAN, into our VLAN here, and we'll import the CSV. And we can just simply drag over. I'm going to validate, so we should see all green check marks, right? Just validate we do. And we actually have one here that is an exclamation, invalid host name. So we have to go back and fix this invalid host name, and I'm going to do that in just a minute. So now that I have it fixed, actually we want to delete this. We want to redrop, say validate. Everything should be green, and it is, and we will hit submit.